What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I fully accept that I look very ghost-like in this video, and that is because we were trying to powder the face this morning and had a little too much powder fall out, and now I look like a ghost. It is what it is. Please deal with me here. But the reason I'm here and the reason I figured this is totally fine for this video is we are going to be doing a series review. For those who know, the Ruinous love trilogy is probably one of my favorite series that has been written. It is by the author Brynne Weaver. It is dark romance, and it's basically stories of serial killers that end up falling in love. So I thought that this was the perfect look for this video. The final book in the series, Scythe and Sparrow, just released recently. In last year's videos, when I was talking about my top favorites of the year, as well as just the month that I read this and I did the review, I had expressed how much I happen to love Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. And now the trilogy is complete. And I also love the fact that Book of the Month actually did all three of them as options on their website, because it was really great to be able to actually have all the bindings look the same and the vibes of the books look the same. Probably one of my favorite series of all times, and I am very excited to talk about it. For those of you that are new here, welcome. My name is Jaya. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and I basically have everything that is bookish related content on this channel. Every once in a while, there'll be spurts of randomness, travel blogs, packing videos, things like that. What's in my bag, but 80 to 90% of the video content on this channel is going to be book related. So if that sounds like it's up your vibe, you're definitely in the right place. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to have you and to build this bookish community. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So Butcher and Blackbird, which is the first book in the series, was released a little whiles ago. Let me try to figure out for you guys when it was released based on the copyright here. But I want to say it's been at least 2 years. So this was released in 2023, which, yeah, I mean, we're in 2025 now. Insane to think. Insane. But Butcher and Blackbird was a book that took the internet by storm. People were talking about it on BookTube and BookTalk and everywhere. And I was very late to the game. I only read this book in 2024, that too later in 2024. And all I can tell you is I understand the hype. This book is basically about two main characters, Rowan and Sloane. Rowan happens to be the middle brother of three brothers. He has an older brother named Lachlan and a younger brother named Fionn. Rowan comes from a very troubled childhood. His father used to abuse him. He and his brothers eventually get out from underneath their father's thumb, but they do that through murder. And he ends up kind of developing a taste for it, and he likes to punish those who are cruel and evil and just love to hurt other people. And so he ends up taking it upon himself to become a serial killer, but he only targets other serial killers. So because of the fact that he has this bloodthirsty nature and he has to channel it somewhere, he is now one of the feared serial killers in the Boston area, and they travel all over the country. Outside of that, we also have Blackbird. So he is known as Butcher, by the way. That is his stage name, if you will. Blackbird is basically Sloane. Sloane is also a young woman who had a very troubled past. She's been abused. She basically kills someone for the sake of her childhood best friend, which is what initially launches her into this path. And now she is out for blood. She's out for revenge. She meticulously targets and research every single one of her potential victims, and she only targets truly horrendous humans or people who are serial killers themselves, going after normal day-to-day people. She ends up in the beginning of the book being trapped in a cage, and that's how Butcher finds her, and then the romance just kicks off from there. In this book, they basically compete with one another. They say every year they're going to go after a major targeted serial killer, and they're going to see who can get to them first. That's how this all starts. Throughout the course of the book, you see the romance between the two characters. You also get to see the relationships they have with other male and female lead characters in the book. You do get introduced to Lark in this book, who is the main female lead of the next book, as well as Lachlan and Fionn, who are the three brothers that you're following along in this book. You also get introduced to Rose, who is going to be the main female lead in Scythe and Sparrow. So altogether, great book. Really, really enjoyed this one. It had so many twists and turns. It made me laugh out loud. It was absolutely hilarious and entertaining, and I loved it to death. I would give this book a solid 4.5 stars. After that book, then we had Leather and Lark. Now, if you've watched some of the other videos on my channel, I have talked about this book as well. Leather and Lark is basically following the eldest brother, who is Lachlan. Lachlan happens to be a contract killer, and he is currently under the employment of a man who is gray area himself. He is very good at what he does, and this man that he's employed by refuses to allow Lachlan to retire. So Lachlan is this grumpy man who's very, very good at what he does and is absolutely insatiably in love with his family. He loves to take care of his brothers. He loves to give them a hard time. He loves how close he is to his siblings. His entire life revolves around them. Now, the only catch is that throughout the course of his life, he also hasn't had too many female relationships. Well, fast forward, he ends up meeting Sloane through Rowan, of course, and Rowan is absolutely obsessed with Sloane. Lachlan learns to appreciate Sloane as well, and he knows that a wedding is coming up. Now, in the midst of all this, he happens to meet the best woman, if you will, and that happens to be Lark. Now, Lark is a very cheerful character. She's funny, she's upbeat, she's a musician. She just also happens to be a serial killer. She just is not necessarily the best at it. So she is coming from money and wealth. She is very, very close to her family, particularly her grandmother, who is also currently in the phases of the last stages of her life. And so lots of heavy hitting moments in terms of family in this book. And Lark as a whole is a very funny, happy character who has a lot of depth to her and a lot of darkness that you get to explore throughout the course of this book. And overall, Lark and Lachlan learn that there's a lot of commonality between them. They learn to appreciate each other's darker pasts and become very, very close. And then one thing leads to another. And now here we are with another romance. In the midst of this book, there are some crazy things that happen at the end where Lark does end up kidnapped at one point and Lachlan has to rush to go save her. This book features a lot of Fionn and Rose as well, who are the final couple in the trilogy. But overall, I thought this book was really fun. I did enjoy Butcher and Blackbird a little bit more because Blackbird, I think as a character, her female lead character is a much stronger character, I felt, than Lark is. Lark, I think, is a little bit lost in the course of this book. But I do also appreciate their friendship. I love the found family vibes, and I also love just the hilarity of the book in and of itself. And once again, you have a contract killer and a serial killer finding love together. So this book, I gave it a solid 4 stars. It was still really, really good, but it didn't quite hit that 5 mark for me. Then last but not least, we have Scythe and Sparrow. Now, this book I did end up reading this month in February. I loved this book. I have been waiting for this book. Now, this book is basically following the story of Rose and Fionn. Rose is a woman who's working at a carnival. Her primary job is to do tarot card readings, and then outside of that, she does some crazy stunts on her motorcycle for the circus. She's been with the circus since the age of 15. We find out throughout the book why she ended up in the circus at the age of 15 and why she is the way she is. Her heart bleeds whenever she sees a woman being abused. She cannot handle it. She cannot tolerate it. And if she feels like the male has a truly mean streak, she is on her way to put him on his butt and potentially in a grave. So she is consistently seeking out women who come to the carnival and work with her to see, if there is a situation where a woman might need her help. Well, one such situation ends her up in a position where she has a broken leg and she's severely injured. She ends up at the hospital where she meets Fionn, the third brother in the series, who also happens to be a doctor. Fionn has his own dark side as well that he's dealing with. He basically became a physician to escape his darker side. He's very, very close to his brothers and he holds their secrets very dearly, and he's very, very family oriented. But he actually relocated to a different location outside of Boston because he didn't want to be in a position where he ends up falling into family trait patterns, if you will. And so he loves his job, but he's always felt a little bit empty. He's always kind of distanced himself from other people. And then Rose walks in and absolutely blows his mind. Throughout the course of the book, he also realizes how she actually got injured, which was not the motorcycle accident that she claims, but rather because she was hunting someone and he got the better of her. Throughout the course of the book, it's kind of like a cat and mouse chase that's going on between her and the man she was originally trying to murder and kill. You also have some other mayhem that happens. Lots of eyeballs in this book. So if that's going to bother you, just don't. But a lot of eyeball gore in this book. And throughout the course of the book, basically, you see Rose and Fionn developing a relationship together and falling in love. Only issue I have with this book is Rose is the worst at thinking through her plans. She is terrible at it. She's consistently putting herself and Fionn in terrible situations and basically creates a mess and then runs to him for him to clean up her messes. And that I really struggled with. I wanted to love Rose. She seems so badass in the other books when you're introduced to her. And like, I really wanted that for her, but she's a heart-leading, do first, think later kind of character. And I really struggled with that. So definitely more in the camp of Lark, but probably even a little bit worse than Lark, because Lark, at least, like when she goes after her victims, she still plans it out. It doesn't always go the way she thinks it's going to go. But I felt like throughout the course of the series, like the first character, Sloane, the female lead I'm saying, is so meticulous and so thought out and so feared across the country because her name has been in the papers and she has a calling card and she goes so good at what she does. Then you have Lark, who is kind of like this in between because she is a public figure and she has to be careful about like who she's targeting and what she's doing. But at the same time, she still plans it out. It's just that sometimes her executions aren't perfect. Then you have Rose, who is 100% completely and totally instinct driven. She doesn't think a lot of her decisions through and she finds herself in trouble all the time. Now, Fionn being a doctor, I guess they were kind of playing off of that because he's obviously very meticulous, very thought through, knows exactly how to strike, where to strike. And Rose, or the Sparrow, is this character where she is all heart, all emotion, all about like, you know, going for it, but she doesn't always think everything through. But you kind of need a character like that to breeze through Fionn's life, I think, and pull at his heartstrings because she's 100% raw and real, and I think that's what he needs. So their romance, I 100% understand. And I loved the way that the romance occurs with her recovery and him taking care of her and all this other stuff. I think the only part I struggled with is her as a serial killer because she, I think, was just not right for the job. Like, I feel like if she had continued down the path that she was going, she 100% would have ended up in jail or dead. And so that was the only part of this book that I struggled with, but I did think overall it was still a well-written, fun book. I ended up giving this book a 3.5 stars because, again, it was my least favorite in terms of the serial killerness and the craziness that was going on, but I did still enjoy the romance and the characters quite a bit. Fionn was actually one of my favorite of the three brothers, and I love his dark history and him like coming to terms with his past and who he is. I love the little fight club scenes that we have in this book. I love the little carnival scenes of them like getting through crazy situations and chasing each other, and there's some really cute scenes in this book, and I did thoroughly enjoy this one. I also finished this in a day, so that could also partially be why I need to ruminate on this book more. But at least right now, my head is screaming at me a 3.5. I will definitely be revisiting this series in the future, but absolutely loved these books. And that brings me to the conclusion of the series review for the Butcher and Blackbird Ruinous Love Trilogy series. What I will say, trigger warnings, a lot of gore, a lot of conversations on abuse, a lot of conversations on dismemberment and things like that. So if there are trigger warnings for you, they're listed at the beginning of every single book. Please read through them. If it does not sound like it's your kind of book, don't pick it up. But I will say Brynne Weaver has written some very, very entertaining characters with a lot of depth to them. And it was very, very fun to go on these journeys with these six characters. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, definitely give it a thumbs up and let me know if you want more content on series reviews. If you are new here and you liked bookish related content and this video was fun for you and you made it all the way through the end, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you, and I love creating this reading community because it gives me the platform to be absolutely obsessed about this topic and talk about it with other fellow reading lovers. So So once again, thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.